So our apple flowers bloom already, and our lovely bees can't help to ignore it. When a bee lands on a flower, the hairs all over the bee's body attract pollen grains through electrostatic forces. Stiff hairs on their legs enable them to groom the pollen into specialized brushes or pockets on their legs or body, and then carry it back to their nest. Bees are drawn to plants with open or flat tubular flowers. With lots of pollen and nectar, a flower's scent can have particular appeal to bees, and its bright colors may lure the bees in.
Bees make excellent pollinators because most of their life is spent collecting pollen, a source of protein that they feed to their developing offspring. Individual bees tend to focus on one kind of flower at a time, which means it is more likely that pollen from one flower will be transferred to another flower of the same species by a particular bee. Many plants require this kind of pollen distribution, known as cross-pollination, in order to produce viable seeds. The business of collecting pollen requires a lot of energy, and so many flowers attract and also reward bees with nectar, a mixture of water and sugars produced by plants. Most bee species dig nests in soil, while others utilize plants, either by boring holes in pithy plant stems or wood, or by nesting in galleries made by wood boring, beetles in trees or other pre-existing cavities. Bumblebees are known to nest in abandoned rodent burrows, and feral honeybees are known to nest in tree hollows. Bees use a variety of materials to build their nests. Most bees line their nest cells with a waxy material they produce themselves, but others use pieces of leaves, small pebbles mixed with resin from tree sap or mud to form the cells in which they lay their eggs. Many bee species are solitary. Each female produces offspring in her own nest, with only one generation of bees produced per year. However, other species nest communally. Several females share a nest or have elaborate social structures with division of labor within the colony, usually with a single queen and many workers. These kinds of bees produce multiple generations per year. This means that bees that produce multiple generations each year need food resources, pollen and nectar across most of the growing season to produce strong colonies. Providing plants in a landscape with overlapping bloom periods will help these bees survive and prosper. Bee communities, both wild and managed, have been declining over the last half-century as pesticide use in agricultural and urban areas increased. Changes in land use have resulted in a patchy distribution of food and nesting resources. Concerned bee researchers recently met to discuss the current pollinator status in North America and to publish a report about it. Since January 2007, there have been a number of reports in the media about the mysterious disappearance of large numbers of honeybees called colony collapse disorder. This has many growers concerned about how they will continue to be able to pollinate their crops. It has often been said that bees are responsible for most crops grown for their fruits, including vegetables, such as squash, cucumber, tomato and eggplant, nuts, seeds, fiber, such as cotton and hay. Alfalfa grown to feed livestock require pollination by insects. Pollinating insects also play a critical role in maintaining natural plant communities and ensuring production of seeds in most flowering plants. Pollination is the transfer of pollen from the male parts of a flower to the female parts of a flower of the same species, which results in fertilization of plant ovaries and the production of seeds. The main insect pollinators, by far, are bees, and while European honeybees are the best known and widely managed pollinators, there are also hundreds of other species of bees, mostly solitary ground nesting species, that contribute some level of pollination services to crops and are very important in natural plant communities. Bees have a symbiotic relationship with flowers like no other, meaning that while flowers are benefiting from being pollinated, bees are also receiving benefit in return. Bees are thought to be one of the first intentional pollinators that coincided with flowering plants dated back to 120 million years ago. Unlike unintentional pollinators such as beetles and FLIs that manage to accidentally carry pollen from flower to flower, bees actually set out to pollinate the earth. Bees are responsible for gathering pollen from the flowers they land on with their tiny hairs and later passing it on to the next flower it collects pollen from. This transferring of pollen from flower to flower is how most plants have been capable of reproducing for millions of years now. As humans, it's important to understand that the preservation of bees directly correlates to our ecosystem's surviving. Bees not only pollinate the flowers that we admire, but they fertilize our crops that we rely on the production of to eat. Without the great relationship between flowers and bees, we would lose out on about 2/3 of our food supply. And reminding us to take care everyone's God created for us. And that's for today. This is Project EU. Please follow for the next video.